Most people are terrified of being alone, and honestly, that should scare you, because the moment silence enters their life, they instantly reach for distractions. Their phone, social media, music, entertainment, anything to avoid sitting alone with their own thoughts. So before this video continues, put your headphones on and listen carefully, because this conversation might hit deeper than you expect. Most people can spend hours surrounded by people and still feel empty inside, because deep down, they never learned how to be at peace with themselves. And that's the real problem. Modern society trained people to fear solitude. It convinced them that being alone means they are unwanted, unimportant, or broken. So now millions of people stay trapped in toxic relationships, fake friendships, meaningless conversations, and endless distractions simply because they cannot handle being alone for even a short period of time. But powerful people understand something different. If you cannot be alone, you are emotionally dependent on the world to keep you mentally stable. And that is weakness. Because the strongest people are not the ones constantly surrounded by attention. They are the ones who can sit in complete silence and still feel calm inside. Solitude is where you discover who you really are without the noise of society controlling your mind. It's where discipline grows, clarity grows, emotional strength grows. And honestly, this is exactly why most people avoid it, because being alone forces you to confront everything you've been running from: your insecurities, your addictions, your fears, your lack of purpose, your emotional emptiness. And the scary part is, most people would rather distract themselves forever than face the truth about their own life. If this message already feels uncomfortably real, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and keep listening carefully, because by the end of this video, you may completely change the way you see loneliness, silence, and yourself forever. And honestly, this is why so many people today feel emotionally exhausted even when they're constantly connected to others. They are never truly alone, yet they never truly feel understood either. Because there's a huge difference between being surrounded by people and actually feeling peace within yourself. Most people use constant noise as an escape. They keep the TV running, music playing, notifications buzzing, conversations happening, content scrolling endlessly. Why? Because silence makes them uncomfortable. Silence forces them to think. And thinking deeply is something modern society quietly trained people to avoid. If this message feels deeper than a normal motivational video, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and keep listening carefully, because understanding solitude can completely change your mindset. Now think about this honestly. When was the last time you sat completely alone without touching your phone, distracting yourself, or trying to escape boredom? For many people, even 10 minutes feels unbearable, and that's dangerous. Because the inability to sit alone quietly often reveals emotional dependency. It reveals a mind that became addicted to stimulation. That's why so many people today fear loneliness so deeply. Not because solitude itself is painful, but because they never developed inner peace. And honestly, people who cannot be alone often become dependent on others for emotional survival. They stay in toxic relationships because they fear emptiness more than disrespect. They tolerate fake friendships because silence feels uncomfortable. They constantly seek validation, attention, and reassurance because deep down, they don't know how to emotionally support themselves. But mentally strong people understand something powerful. Learning how to be alone is one of the greatest forms of emotional freedom. Because once you stop fearing solitude, people lose the ability to emotionally control you so easily. Rejection hurts less. Loneliness scares you less. Silence feels peaceful instead of painful. And this is where real self-awareness begins. Because solitude exposes everything: your habits, your thoughts, your insecurities, your emotional addictions, your fears, your lack of discipline. And honestly, this is exactly why most people constantly run from it. They would rather drown themselves in endless entertainment than confront the reality of their own mind. But powerful people choose differently. They use solitude to rebuild themselves, to think clearly, to reflect deeply, to strengthen discipline, to understand themselves without society constantly influencing their thoughts. And this is why some of the strongest minds in history spent long periods alone. Because solitude sharpens awareness. It teaches emotional control. It teaches independence. It teaches you how to stop depending on the outside world for inner stability. Meanwhile, people who constantly need noise, attention, and stimulation often become emotionally fragile without realizing it. One moment alone creates anxiety. One period of silence creates restlessness. One lonely night feels unbearable. And honestly, that's not peace. That's emotional dependency disguised as social behavior. The strongest people are not the ones who always need a crowd around them. They are the ones who can stand alone without feeling mentally broken by it. And honestly, this is where most people completely misunderstand solitude. They think being alone automatically means being lonely, but those are not the same thing at all. Loneliness is when you feel emotionally empty. Solitude is when you finally become comfortable enough with yourself to grow in silence. And powerful people understand that some of the most important transformations in life happen when nobody is around clapping for you. Discipline is built alone. Healing happens alone. Deep thinking happens alone. Self-awareness grows alone. The strongest version of yourself is usually created during the quiet moments nobody else ever sees. But modern society keeps teaching people the opposite. It tells them they always need more attention, more entertainment, more people, more validation, more noise. And because of that, many people never develop emotional independence. They become uncomfortable the moment life gets quiet. That's why so many people today panic when they lose attention from others. They don't just lose people, they lose their sense of identity completely. And honestly, that's dangerous, because if your peace disappears every time you are alone, then your peace was never truly yours in the first place. If this message is making you reflect deeply, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and keep listening carefully, because very few people today are willing to talk honestly about emotional dependency and solitude. Now here's the truth nobody wants to hear. Learning how to be alone will save you from many bad decisions in life. It will stop you from staying in relationships that destroy your peace. It will stop you from chasing fake friendships just to avoid silence. It will stop you from needing constant approval to feel valuable, because once you become emotionally comfortable alone, desperation disappears. And desperation is what causes many people to tolerate disrespect, manipulation, and emotional chaos for years. But calm, emotionally independent people move differently. They don't beg for attention. They don't panic over temporary loneliness. They don't lose themselves trying to keep everyone around them happy. They understand that protecting inner peace is more important than forcing connections that damage their mental health. And honestly, this is why solitude becomes powerful. It teaches you how to enjoy your own company, teaches you how to think clearly without constant outside influence. It teaches you how to emotionally survive without depending on non-stop stimulation from the world. And once you master that skill, life changes completely, because now you no longer fear silence. You no longer fear being alone with your thoughts. You no longer need constant distractions to escape yourself. Instead, solitude becomes a place where your mind grows stronger, calmer, and more disciplined. And at the end of the day, the people who become the strongest mentally are usually not the people who constantly run toward noise. They are the people who learned how to sit alone in silence and build themselves quietly while the rest of the world kept trying to escape itself. And this is where life becomes different for the people who finally learn how to be alone, because once you stop running from silence, you begin hearing yourself clearly for the first time. Your thoughts become clearer, your emotions become calmer, your decisions become more intentional. And honestly, this is why solitude is so powerful. It removes the noise that constantly controls your mind. Think about how distracted most people are today. The second life becomes uncomfortable, they escape into entertainment. The second they feel lonely, they search for attention. The second silence appears, they reach for stimulation. And over time, they completely lose the ability to sit with themselves peacefully. But mentally strong people understand something different. Discomfort is not always something to escape from. Sometimes discomfort is where growth begins. Sometimes silence is where healing begins. Sometimes solitude is where you finally discover the person you are becoming beneath all the distractions. And honestly, this is why learning how to be alone is one of the most important skills in modern life. Because the world is becoming louder every single day. More distractions, more opinions, more pressure, more noise. And if you never learn how to disconnect from that chaos, your mind will eventually become exhausted trying to keep up with everyone else constantly. If this message is helping you see yourself differently, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and keep listening carefully, because emotional independence might become one of the greatest advantages you ever build. Now here's the solution most people never hear. Stop treating solitude like punishment and start treating it like training. Spend time alone intentionally. Go for walks without your phone. Sit quietly sometimes. Learn how to enjoy your own company without needing constant entertainment. Read more. Reflect more. Think deeply about your life instead of constantly escaping it. Build routines that strengthen your mind when nobody is around watching. Because honestly, the strongest version of yourself will never be built through non-stop distraction. It will be built during the quiet moments where discipline, self-awareness, and emotional control are developed privately. And at first, solitude may feel uncomfortable. Your mind will crave stimulation. It will crave attention. It will crave noise. But over time, something powerful begins happening. You stop fearing silence. You stop depending on constant validation. You stop needing people around you every second to feel emotionally okay. And this is where real freedom begins. Because now your happiness is no longer controlled by attention, relationships, social media, or outside approval. Your peace comes from within. And honestly, people who develop that kind of inner stability become incredibly difficult to break emotionally. Rejection affects them less. Loneliness scares them less. Opinions control them less. Why? Because they built a relationship with themselves strong enough to survive silence. And that changes everything. At the end of the day, learning how to be alone is not about isolating yourself from the world forever. It's about becoming emotionally strong enough that you no longer fear your own company. Because the people who become the calmest, wisest, and most disciplined in life are usually the people who stopped running from solitude and started using it to build themselves quietly while the rest of the world stayed distracted by noise. If this video made you realize that your fear of being alone has been controlling more of your life than you thought, then stop running from silence the moment this video ends. Because most people will. They'll go right back to distractions, non-stop scrolling, fake conversations, empty validation, and constant noise just to avoid being alone with themselves for even a few minutes. Don't become one of them. Starting today, learn how to sit with yourself without needing the world to constantly entertain you. Learn how to enjoy silence without panicking. Learn how to build peace within yourself instead of searching for it in everyone else. Because the strongest people are not the ones who always need attention around them. They are the ones who can stand alone and still remain calm, disciplined, and emotionally strong. If you're serious about building real mental strength, emotional independence, self-discipline, and inner peace, hit like right now, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Because this channel is for people who are tired of distraction, emotional weakness, and dependency and ready to build a stronger mind in a world full of noise. And before you leave, go to the comments and type, "I am at peace with myself." Make that your mindset from today forward. And share this video with someone who constantly fears loneliness, silence, or being alone with their own thoughts. Now put your phone down for a while, sit in silence, and start becoming the calm, disciplined, emotionally strong person that no longer needs constant noise to feel alive.